We're starting a brand new unit in math where we're going to be working on multiplying. And by the end of the school year, I'll have you multiplying some really big numbers. But to start this unit out, we're going to start with some simple multiplication and use some pictures to help us understand what's going on. One of the easiest ways to understand multiplication is using what we call arrays. And arrays have rows and columns. The rows are going across horizontally, and in this case there's 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. And then the columns are what goes up and down or vertically. And it is also a way of saying how many rows we have. So there's 1, 2, 3 in a column, or there's 3 rows of 4. To solve that multiplication problem then, we would say the 4 in one row times 3, that's how many are in a column or how many rows of 4 we have. And our total, of course, in this case would be 12. Let's try another problem. Here are some yummy gummy worms stacked on a grocery shelf. The total number of gummy worms can be figured out using an array. There are 2 in each row, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 in each one of those stacked on top. So 2 times 4 gives us a total of 8 altogether. By the way, we do have some special names we use for the parts of a multiplication problem. Remember that the two numbers we multiply together are called the factors, and the answer to a multiplication problem is known as the product. Let's try a couple more arrays. Here's some eggs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in each row, and we have 1, 2, 3 rows, or 3 in each column. So 6 times 3 is the same thing as 6 plus 6 plus 6, which equals a product of 18. Here are some stamps. There are 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 in each row, times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, or 5 in each column. 4 times 5 gives us a product of 20. Here's one using some really big numbers. Let's figure out how many holes are in this storage bin. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in each row, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. If you remember your 11 facts, all you have to do when you multiply by 11 is just double the other factor. So 11 times 5 is 55. Now that you've got the hang of it, here's your assignment for today. You're going to need 2 pages, some scissors, and some glue for this cut and sort activity, and it is a graded assignment. Your first page is where you're going to glue down your answers, and your second page is what you're going to cut apart. The directions say to write the multiplication fact that's represented by each array. And notice you have a spot for putting the how many are in each row and how many rows you have or how many in each column, and then write the product or answer to it. Once you've done that, then it tells you to glue each array under the correct space on the first page. So if you take a look at this page, you'll see that there are going to be 2 arrays here where the product, the total answer, is 18. There's 2 arrays here that have a product or total of 40, 2 that have a total of 48. And then down here, there are actually 3 arrays with a product of 24, 3 arrays with a product of 30, and 3 arrays that have a product of 36. Let's go ahead and do the first problem together. So take a look at this second page, and we'll look at that very first array right there, from right here. So let's count how many we have in one row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there's a little dividing line there once we get past 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's 15 in each row, and I can see that I only have 2 rows of 15. Now, if that's not a multiplication problem that you happen to know the answer to, there's a couple ways you can solve it. You could sit there and count them all out, or another way would be to take this array and break it up into smaller sections. I noticed that there was this dark line here once I got to 10. So here are 10 in that first row, and there's 10 in that second row. So this part of the array right here is 10 times 2, which is 20, of course. And then the second half of the array, the second section, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in one row, and there are 2 rows. So that would be 5 times 2 is 10. So again, this section is equal to 20, 10 times 2. This section is equal to 5 times 2. And so we have 20 over here plus 10 over here gives us a total of 30. So now that I've solved that problem, I'm going to go ahead and cut that out and come to my first page. The product here is 30, so I'd find the column that says 30 and go ahead and glue that into the correct section. Go ahead and work through the rest of those. And again, you can use the actual squares and count them out if you need to. You can try to divide them up into smaller sections, or a lot of these are basic multiplication facts, so you should be able to figure them out, hopefully.